Today we have with us the 2022 Ferrari 296 GTB. Now GTB standing for Gran Turismo Berlinetta. This is actually a supercar that you can drive every single day. And I actually mean that when I say that, because in this review I will be talking about all the specifications of the 296 GTB obviously, but I will be looking at them from a daily driver's perspective. Because honestly, this is what Ferrari actually aims for. They create cars not only that are good on the track, but also for your day-to-day life. Because Ferrari is actually a lifestyle brand. So without any further ado, let's get into this detailed review. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I suggest you do that right now. Because we have a fleet of very special car reviews coming to this channel near you. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now let's start this review from the overview of this car, and I'm going to start with the basic, that is the naming for this car. And I'm actually very proud of the naming of this car because this is actually a very long time after that Ferrari has named a car perfectly. The last car that I remember that they had named correctly according to the engine and the specifications of the car was the 458. But now the 296 comes from two things. Now the 29 comes from the 2992cc engine that is in this car, and the 6 comes from the V6 engine put in this car. Now from V6, a lot of people are actually quite disappointed because V8, V10s and V12s are the things that car guys want, and a V6 doesn't really come up to that expectation. But the thing is, technology these days has really shot up. Today's V6s are no longer the V6s from 10 years back, and the power that they can produce is insane. This car can give a combined output of 819 brake horsepower, also known as 831 CV of power, which Ferrari calls it. And a car that has more than 800 horsepower is no joke. Now the reason behind it is because this is a plug-in hybrid system in this car, which has electric motors that can produce 165 brake horsepower, which is actually quite appreciable. And coming back to the point of why this car with a V6 is actually a very capable car, is that even Ferrari has so much confidence in it that they have placed this car over the F8 Tributo. This car is actually quite more expensive than the F8, and the F8 comes with a twin-turbo V8 engine. So if you have any doubts regarding a smaller engine in this car, you can completely remove those, and we're going to talk about more detail about that in the performance section of this video. Right now, let's start with the styling of this car, which is just drop dead gorgeous. Now when it comes to the styling of any Ferrari really, well, they completely are head turners. But the thing is, Ferrari never makes a car which is completely brand new. Ferrari always has some elements of their heritage cars, because again, Ferrari is not a brand just producing track cars or having cars that look good or make expensive cars. Ferrari is a car manufacturer that is very glued to their heritage and their lifestyle. So that is why this car is actually inspired from the 250 LM, which is a vintage Ferrari car. And there are many elements in this car that would remind you of that, which necessarily come into the rear profile of this car, which I will tell you. But as of now, from a single glance, if we compare it to modern Ferrari, this is actually a baby Ferrari SF90. And let me explain why I say that. Because if you look at the headlamp array of this car, everything is very similar to the SF90. Also, there are a few design cues from the F8 Tributo as well. Namely, is the T-tray over here and this air vent given right here. Now, we also got to see something similar like that in the F8 Tributo, which is also given in this car. And I feel that the way that they've connected all of their cars, they've connected all of their lineup, it really makes sense and just ties in so very well. But let's come on down to the design cues of this car. For example, right over here, you can see you have the DRLs for this car, and you have a twin LED headlamp setup right here. Given down below, alongside the whole splitter of this car, you have a massive air vent, and also another air vent given right along the headlight of this car. Another air vent you would like to see is the one that we saw over there, which I already told you about. All of this has been very strategically placed so that it gives the car one of the best aerodynamics in the system and also provides the car enough downforce for going those high speeds that you always wanted to on the track. For a small little example, that air vent right here given on the front splitter of the car can produce a downforce of around 130 kilograms at a speed of 250 kilometers an hour. That is the amount of huge difference small air vents make in a car, which usually we guys just overlook on, but not these car manufacturers. Another thing about this car is obviously the prancing horse logo given in the yellow color front and clear in the center of the car. But a fun fact over here, 296 GTB is the only V6 Ferrari to ever get the prancing horse logo. Now a lot of people might argue that the Dino was a car which was a Ferrari V6, so didn't that have the prancing horse logo? Well, look again, because that car didn't. The 296 GTB is the first Ferrari car with a V6 engine to showcase the prancing horse logo. Now when we come to the side profile for almost any other car on the road, they're pretty bland and plain, but not when it comes to a supercar. This is actually one of the most happening sides for this car, and we're going to start with that with the tires of this car. Now, sitting down below, you can see how massive these tires are. I'm like 6'2" sitting down right now, and these tires are almost my level. So these are actually 20-inch alloy wheels, and these alloy wheels you can see have slats in between them which have been created aerodynamically, which cut air in a certain way that does not let the car produce drag, and it helps the car push through. That is how much engineering Ferrari has put within even the alloy wheels of this car. And talking about the section of these cars, we have 235 section 35 R20, which means 20-inch alloy wheels, which for this size of a car, I think fit in perfectly. But that is the front wheels. If you talk about the rear wheels, again, 20-inch alloy wheels, but the section for the rear is 305 because this is actually a rear wheel drive car, which means we need fatter tires back there to create more traction and which pushes the car forward. Now imagine, we've just talked about the tires right now and then things have got so intricate. Moving on to a little lighter topics, we have the front fender of this car, which again comes with the Scuderia Ferrari logo, the prancing horse, which looks absolutely insane, especially with this Ferrari red color. We have this yellow, which creates a lot of contrast and really looks good on the car. Moving on to the little bit of the rear, however, we can see we have this vent over here, which again is there for cooling down the engine of this car while they're driving the car, which makes a lot of sense. Yet, if you see, this vent really does remind you a lot of the 250 LM as I was talking about in the start. Moving just behind it, you can see we have the hybrid charger for this car. This is actually a Ferrari because it's a plug-in hybrid. This is a Ferrari that you can plug into a wall socket and charge overnight. But then coming onto the roof of this car, which has a very sleek design, by the way, looks absolutely insane. Yet if you move on to the little back a bit over here, you can see we have a kind of a spoiler again for the downforce of the car, again for the aerodynamics of the car, so that you get the maximum performance out of your Ferrari 296 GTB. Like in the start when I said that this is actually a baby SF90, the rear actually proves it. Just like in the SF90, you had the spherical taillights with the curved off edges. That is exactly the kind of design you get in this car as well. Yet in this car, you do have this straight slat which acts as the brake light for this car, which does look absolutely insane. Moving on the little bit of the top of the rear end, you can see that glass panel that shows off that V6 engine if you look inside it, which when is clean looks amazing, but is a fingerprint magnet. So when you do own this car, if you have a Ferrari, make sure you keep this clean. But anyways, just behind that we have vents again for the aerodynamic purposes of this car. And those vents have this mesh kind of design which are finished in black, and that red and black combination again looks absolutely insane. We have the Ferrari logo given on the rear wing of this car again, which is there in every single Ferrari and had to be in the 296 GTB as well. Down below over here we have the prancing horse logo again, just below which we have the single exit center mounted exhaust, which sounds absolutely insane. So let's have a listen for that right now. Like I said, this car sounds absolutely insane. But anyways, moving on, just alongside the exhaust, in this car. You can see we have that mesh grille again, which actually gives you a sneak peek inside this car, where you can see the exhaust pipes, you can see all that heat shielding, which gives this car again a very cool look. Other than that, my favorite part about the rear has to be the rear diffuser, which is such an aggressive design, and it gives this car such a muscular look. It looks fantastic. Another thing that is fantastic in this car is actually this portion over here, just above the prancing horse logo. This is actually a retractable wing taken from the LaFerrari. So what happens is, when you are driving your car at higher speeds and you apply the brakes, this wing actually comes out of the car and acts as an air brake, which again improves the braking performance of your car. Because a supercar is not just about accelerating or driving fast, it's about stopping just as fast. Moving on to the interior of the 296 GTB, this is how an interior should be made. Take notes, McLaren, because everything in this car is top notch. There's not even a single piece of material which I feel has been put of cheap quality. The whole dashboard of this car is complete leather. We have red stitching given over here. We have this leather underside dashboard over here. We have a carbon fiber steering wheel, obviously with the gear shift indicators. We have leather surrounds to the portion where you actually grip the steering wheel. And even in the center console, you will see carbon fiber overload with actual metal inserts for the gear selector. Even on the door side, you can see we have contrast stitching with metal inserts and leather inserts everywhere. Alcantara inserts to the place where you actually hold to open the door. Everything in this car has been well built. It is handcrafted in the Ferrari factory in Italy. And Ferrari is very particular with everything in this car. The way that they design their cars is keeping the driver in mind. For example, if you see over here, you can see how everything has been tilted towards the driver. The AC controls given over here are tilted towards the drivers. We have two AC vents for the driver. We have this display which curves around towards the driver. We have the headlight controls given towards the driver. Everything has been driver focused, yet they haven't forgot about the passenger, because they have given this display right here, which when you turn on the car on battery power, you can see turns on the display, and the necessary information like performance, audio, navigation, settings can be even seen in this display for the passenger. And talking about the seats, if I show you them, they are complete leather with contrast stitching. We have such bucket type shaped seats which really grip you in place. And in terms of looks, they just liven up the interior. Another thing about the interior that I like is the key with the 296 GTB logo. And if I move it on over here, I'm going to cover a few things because they are necessary. But underneath we get the Ferrari logo. So they have a special place for keeping the key, and you can see how snugly the key just fits in place, and you can see that Ferrari logo all times while you're driving this car. It's just about small things like this that Ferrari have thought of while building the interior of this car. The moment you've finally been waiting for is here, in which we talk about the performance figures of this car. So let's open this rear glass hood given, which shows off that V6 engine. First off, there are two things you will notice. Number one is that the engine is actually quite down below. Now this is for improving center of gravity of this car. The V6 engine has been positioned very low in this car because all of that weight is then lower, and obviously if the center of mass of a car is lower, you can corner it at high speeds and the stability of the car is improved. That is number one. Second thing you would notice is that in any Ferrari, you've always had a red engine cover that just protrudes out and looks amazing. But in this car, you actually have a silver one, and the red engine cover is there, but it is actually down below and you have to really focus on it to see it. The reason for that is because the V6 engine in this car is inclined at an angle of 120 degrees, which makes it very off to the side and you can't really see the engine covers. But something that you can see is the whole heat shielding and everything that looks absolutely insane in this car. And if you pay a little close attention, also see the turbochargers for this car, which actually are made by IHIs, which was the same manufacturer that made the turbos for the Ferrari F40, which is a legendary Ferrari car. They are also just the smaller brothers of the turbos in the SF90, and these smaller turbos actually are better at spinning because they have a highest RPM of 180 1000 RPMs, which is absolutely insane, which gives us a sneak peek to why this car can produce so much power. Talking about power, the V6 engine alone in this car can produce 654 bhp. The hybrid powertrain, however, the electric motors can produce a maximum output of 165 brake horsepower, giving this a total of 819 brake horsepower, sprinting this car from 0 to 100 in a mere 2.9 seconds and a 0 to 200 speed in just 7.3 seconds. Top speed for this car, 330 kilometers per hour, even more than that actually. If you still have any doubts related to this is just a V6 car, well, think again, because this V6 car can produce 819 brake horsepower. And I haven't yet driven this car, but the people who have driven this car, I have talked to them, and they say that this whole package is actually much more fun to drive than the F8. And honestly speaking, this car is one of the best driving Ferraris on the road right now because of the way that they've made everything, the way that they've fine-tuned everything. This car is one of the most perfect built Ferraris. And a little to do with that has to do with the electronics in this car. Obviously, we have the mild hybrid system, which gives this car a little upper edge with instant torque. Ferraris usually don't even have turbo lag, but the smallest amount of turbo lag that is available in any twin turbo car is also completely finished because of the electric motors, which provide instant torque in this car. Also about the electronics, this car has electronics everywhere. The steering wheel, for example, is a completely electronic steering wheel. No hydraulics related to it whatsoever, giving this car precision handling. Also another thing in this car which has to do with the braking system and traction for the car, because this is still a rear wheel car with 819 brake horsepower, has to do with the ABS Evo system that Ferrari has introduced to this car, which means that in terms of traction, in terms of braking, the sensors of this car actually intelligently feel where and which tire is getting more traction or less traction and apply the brakes accordingly. Also, because of torque vectoring, when you're accelerating in this car, again, the amount of traction depending on each tire, that is how the power is delivered to this car. The amount of complex engineering that has gone into making this car, I can truly believe the people who say that this is the best driving Ferrari on the road. Moving on to the interior in this car, we do have a few performance related features over here, namely 2 Manettino switches. Now in older Ferraris you must have seen that there is only one Manettino switch, which is this one right here. We have wet mode, we have sport mode, we have race mode, and we have traction control off, and then we have ESC off, which means that, well, you're on your own. But in this car and in the SF90 as well, we have a E Manettino switch as well, which is over here. So this right now, the one that we have selected is qualifying. This is the drive mode in which the car produces its maximum power. Regeneration of everything is just performance focused. Then we have our race mode on, which is, I guess, normal mode for this car, for a spirited mode, because, well, any mode in this car is exactly race mode. And then we have hybrid mode, which I think is for city driving, in which the car intelligently selects in between electric and hybrid, electric and performance. The engine turns on and off, it takes assist from the electric motors. All of those things are in H mode. But then we have ED, which is electric drive, which is for completely driving this car in complete EV mode. And in EV mode, this car has a claimed range of around 25 kilometers, which I think for normal commutes in cities is completely fine. And this is one of the major reasons why I think that this car is actually the perfect daily driving Ferrari. It has everything you can think of, put it into qualifying mode when you're going on the track, or for an intense driving situation. You can put it in performance mode over here when you're in a little bit of spirited mood and you want to drive and you want to experience the acceleration. Hybrid is for normal driving, and then E-drive is for when you're getting the groceries maybe. So everything is really, really insane in this car. So all in all, these reasons all contribute to making this the perfect daily driving Ferrari. Coming on to next things, we have this display. Putting it into race mode again, it gives you this tachometer with the red ambient lighting, and you have this needle which is completely electronic. But the one thing that I really like about this display is that it is very futuristic. Everything in this display, the UI makes it seem very sporty, which I think is necessary for a Ferrari. But there is one thing that I do not like, and that is a little bit of lag within this display. For example, you can see when I change, it takes a little around 1 second for it to actually show it up on the display. Like right now you can see I'm going to move it into wet. 1, 2. It takes 2 seconds for it to actually show up on the display. Similarly, if I'm even moving things around in this display, you can see how I make the move and then it jerkily goes on to the next display. This is the only one thing about this display that I do not like. Other than that, everything else is pitch perfect. But we're still not done with the performance because, well, this is a normal GTB, but you can actually option your car for the Assetto Ferrano pack, which gives you better aerodynamics. For example, there is a redesigned splitter in that car which gives you an extra 10 kilograms of downforce. With the Assetto Ferrano pack, you will also get a multimatic dampers in this car which are better for handling at higher speeds. And then last but not the least, another thing for the grip of this car is that you will get Michelin Cup 2 tires for intense gripping situations, which is good for your car, especially on the track. So, according to your specifications, if you wanted, you can also get the Assetto Ferrano pack and increase the capabilities of this car to a whole new level. Next up is the practicality for this car, and a major portion for this video where I'm actually going to explain why I think you can actually daily drive this car. For example, this is one Ferrari that comes with a glove box. So for your necessary things or your things you want to keep hidden away which are not that big, you can keep them in the glove box. Then over here you can see we have one place for keeping your mobile phone, a dedicated slot. You have one cup holder or a bottle holder as well, and it is actually big enough to hold a bottle, you know, it won't touch over here. A 1 liter bottle can easily be stored over here. You have a special place for your key, but then you have some storage over here as well with a USB port for charging up your mobile phone or things like that. Other than that, you also have a net over here for keeping some stuff, but then these seats can actually be tilted forward to reveal this shelf where you can keep some stuff. So let's have a look at that right now. So using this handle over here, you can just pull it up and then move the seat front, and then this reveals some tray storage over here for the passenger side and for the driver side for keeping like small baggages over here as well. Then we have the frunk of this car. Now, all throughout this review, I have been saying that this car is a baby SF90, but a place where this car isn't the baby is where it comes to the trunk practicality. Now, because the SF90 is an all-wheel drive hybrid supercar, so they have motors in the front as well, due to which it eats up frunk storage in the car, but not in the 296 GTB. You can just open it from here, if I figure it out how to open it, and once you do, you can see that we do have plenty space in this car. Now, it's not like a practical family car storage, but the storage still from a supercar point of view is enough. You can see we have a Ferrari bag over here which has been tied in with leather straps, and we have another first aid kit, I assume, with the Ferrari strap, and then we have this major space over here which is used for keeping your suitcase if you ever wanted to go for a weekend getaway in your 296. Now, this plaque, if you don't know, it has always been in every single Ferrari, and it contains all the options that the owner of the car has ticked on from the factory. So these are all the options that this Ferrari 296 GTB has, and if you see, even the quality of this thing is actually solid metal, and the writing has actually been etched on. This is not ink or anything, and that is the level of detail that Ferrari has given to its cars. And by the way, if you are ever wondering where the washer fluid for your Ferrari goes in, that is actually over here. It is not in the engine bay. With all of those factors considered, I really hope that I was able to convince you on making this a perfect high performance daily driver. And if you buy this car because of me, let me know in the comments down below, because it would be amazing. But anyways, coming on to more serious topics. Like I said, it has the stylings for being a Ferrari. It has amazing performance for when you wanted to go for a spirited drive in your car. You have a okay practicality according to a supercar, in which you could get groceries if you wanted to. You can keep some bags, and going for a short weekend trip, you could do that in this car. It has enough comfort, it has amazing features, and it also has city driving features such as hybrid and e-drive for complete electric drive. It has everything which I would have want in a high performance daily driver. So if you agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. If you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments down below with a reasoning why you think so. But with that, we come on to the pricing for this car, which I think is quite essential. For a basic spec Ferrari 296 GTB with all of the necessary features like parking sensors, front grills and all of that, it would cost you around 5 crores 40 lakh rupees. With the Assetto Ferrano pack, you can obviously make it a lot higher than that. You can also customize your Ferrari however you want it. You can change the colors, you can change the interior trim, you can change anything you really want, and you can vary the price accordingly. But for a basic spec, it would cost you around 5 crores 40 lakh rupees. And with that, finally, we can say that we have concluded our review of the 296 GTB. What do you think about this car? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Share this video as much as you can, and do not forget to subscribe to this channel, because there are a lot more amazing reviews coming to the channel, and it really gives me a lot of motivation to create content for you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.